Good morning, everyone. Just before we kick off, we're just going to give it a couple of minutes just for a few latecomers to join, and then we will get going. All right, everyone, we're going to kick off. I'm sure more people will join in a couple of minutes, but welcome to our webinar this morning on this fine Tuesday morning for the customer experience imperative and the future of finance. So my name is Andrew Fox. I am the Principal Account Director for Global Financial Services and Insurance at MAP Digital. And with me today, I have the very knowledgeable Keval from Trustpilot.
Hey there, guys. So yeah, I'm Keval, UK Sales Manager at Trustpilot. Been at Trustpilot for over 5 years, but primarily focused on the finance, fintech, and insurance sector.
Welcome. Now, guys, just before we kick on into the agenda for this morning's webinar, just let you know that there will be a Q&A section at the end of the webinar. So if you would like to just pop questions into the chat, we can cover those off at the end of the session. And also, we have a very short survey we would love for you to complete towards the end of the session as well. It just helps us to understand what was really valuable for you with the session, but also helps us to prepare for future events like this one. All right, so our agenda for this morning. First, we're going to dive into top 5 trends that we're starting to see for moving into 2021 for customer experiences, particularly within financial services. Then we will move on to looking into how you can improve your customer experiences and all those different touch points that you have with customers. We'll then start to look at some brands that are doing customer experience really well in financial services, and then looking at how we can start to leverage the changes in customer behavior to really benefit and really add value as we move forward into next year. And then finally, we'll chat about some of the best digital tactics to improve your customer experience through marketing. And then, as I mentioned before, we will also have a Q&A section as well. So just a bit of background. So for those of you who don't know, MapCloud is an all-in-one platform that helps customers run customer-centric marketing programs and act on real-time customer behavior. So how do we do that? We've got three key components. We've got MapAcquire, which is basically our data management platform, which basically allows you to hunt down and find your ideal customers based on your existing customers. MapEngage is at the very core of our offering, and it is a cross-channel execution engine for the likes of SMS, email, and push. And then finally, we have Map Intelligence as well, which gives you predictive insights as well as is a customer data platform. And passing over to Kevin.
So Trustpilot now. So we're the world's most powerful review platform. As you'll see on the next slide, some really impressive stats really. So Trustpilot now is the largest review platform in the UK. We get in the region of 12 million visitors to our website on a monthly basis. And that's from consumers either looking to read a review on the company they're going to look to purchase from, user services of, or leave a review they've already purchased from, user services of. I'm not sure if you can see the stats yet, guys. Hopefully Andrew's going to just push that on now. Yeah. So as you can see there, we've had over 100 million reviews posted to date. That's growing at a rate of around 2.5 million reviews per month, and we're sending out 30 million review invites on a monthly basis. I think the most impressive stat here is number 24. It's because it means we're the 24th most visited website in the UK based on Alexa ranking. So the likelihood that your customers, your clients, your users have either read, written, or seen a review on Trustpilot is very, very high. Just drilling into sort of the consumer behavior we've seen on Trustpilot. So earlier this year, when COVID first struck, we did a survey of 1,700 UK respondents with a multiple choice questionnaire. And so some of the data we got from that is that over a quarter of people are now checking for reviews more since the outbreak. More than 1 in 5 people say that they trust in the reviews, or trust in companies rather, has decreased since the outbreak. And finally, people are more concerned with scams than they were before the outbreak of coronavirus. So it's just becoming more and more important for businesses to be a bit more transparent online and have a solid reputation. And then finally, just before we kick off, here's a couple of clients that Map and Trustpilot have, and these are just a handful. But as you can see here, we completely dominate the market for your traditional banks, your challenger banks, money transfer, savings, investments, trading companies, mortgage brokers. So as you can see there, the likes of TSBs, the Lloyds banks, all the way through to your Skrills, your Monzos, and your Revoluts. So anything to do with finance, you're really well covered with Map and Trustpilot because we've got great experience in the finance industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kamal. And look, so let's move on. So we're going to deep dive here into some of the top 5 trends to consider in 2021. This isn't an exhaustive list, but absolutely something that we've started to see in the work that we've been doing with our customers this year, and we think will absolutely continue moving into next year. So the first one here, which is no surprise, I would say, is a continued increase in online banking and online transactions. So while many of the high street branches obviously are open for essential services, but with reduced hours, customers are very much encouraged to start to use phone and online banking services where possible, and apps are providing the easiest way for customers to stay on top of their finances, especially as more scrutiny over their budgets and their spending. Now, Money Expert earlier this year published some stats where they had recorded 6 million plus additional online banking app downloads that occurred for a 6-week period between March and April 2020. So that's around 12% of the adult population in the UK, which is massive. And so I think that only speaks more and more volumes to the opportunities that are presenting themselves within online environments more and more, particularly around app usage. So opportunities for cross-sell and service messaging and functionality promotion, and actually looking at customer behavior and using those apps. Are they using that more than online? And some great opportunities there to really help drive that customer experience to those apps, and really push on functionality about what the app is offering and what customers can do at their fingertips. I think the other one that's been really interesting is the number of the increase in transactions, and as we start to do more shopping online and start to do more shopping, particularly within the wider Europe region as well, online transaction verification we've seen increases in SMSs go up for that, but also for messages within push for two-factor authentication and one-time passcodes. And so I think there's a real opportunity here to really focus and enhance on improving these business as usual moments and really help educate customers and get them feeling really comfortable with using these platforms. I think the other thing that I would also say here too is that looking at some of the other functionality and investment, and we'll touch on this later on, where some apps and some of the fintech providers have really started to embrace to be able to do everything on the mobile phone.
Yeah, I think that's a good overview, Andrew. I think the only input I'd have on that is the fact that everything's just moving into the digital age. Everything's moving online, especially now with more and more people working from home. You can't just pop into your local branch. You can't speak to your financial advisor or go in and get a loan. Everything's done online now. So I think a lot of finance institutions need to prepare to go digital and be agile and flexible when they do that. You see the likes of the new digital banks, like you mentioned, online mortgage brokers like Habitat and Trussell, and even robo-advisors as well now, to help people give a choice a lot faster than you traditionally could. But yeah, I think that's a good overview.
Alrighty, so trend number 2, so agility in data-driven decision making. So I think as we start to see customer behaviors shift from what they historically were, moving more into online channels, being more heavily reliant on research as well as reviews, that customer journey and that funnel to purchase is starting to shift. And I think us as marketers are definitely going to have to look at how we can leverage real-time opportunities to really capitalize on that. Looking at how do we automate based on some behaviors, and whether it's browsing behaviors or if it's spend behaviors. And then I think the other thing, and something that I know I've struggled with in the past, is getting support and buy-in from wider stakeholders and using data visualization to really support that. There's plenty of platforms out there that will do that, but I think being able to tell that story and have the data to back it up is absolutely going to be key. I think this also just brings up time and time again the opportunity for test and learn opportunities, as well as being able to optimize on the fly. There's plenty of platforms out there that can do that, but I think even just starting small and looking at 1 or 2 smaller insights and then testing those, seeing how they work, and then continually to evolve is definitely something that is going to help, particularly around embracing all this data that we've got coming out of our ears.
So number 3, going into 2021, is obviously going to be building relationships around your brand, or building relationships with your customers, and build trust with your brand. So I think the worst thing you can do is, as a business, is acquire a customer and ignore them and just think of them as another number in the system. What you want to be doing is understanding who's been loyal to you, who's engaging in marketing on your posts, and reward them so you can tap in emotionally. You want to understand why they're your customers and how you can keep them as your customers. So really recognize and reward that loyalty. Second point is create value in your interactions. So to create value in your interactions, you need to think about your customer lifecycle. When do they actually go from being just a customer to a loyal advocate of your brand? And sure, you can do things like NPS, and that way you can find your promoters and detractors. However, I think you can take it a step further by engaging at multiple touch points and seeing who's engaged in all your posts and all your touch points with your customers. What you want to do is you want to know, or you want people to know about your company. So you want to tap into the emotions, as I said, and don't just reach out for the sake of it. Make sure you want to relay or portray a proper message, and there's a reason for why you're obviously reaching out, and customize the message based upon that user's behavior and that target market. And then finally, just humanize the experience. So have a personal touch. Don't just leave it to the technology. Give people a platform to get in touch via phone, via chat, SMS, be available 24 hours a day and show you care. As I said, you don't just want to ignore your customers. You want to give them a platform where you can get feedback, but then engage with them afterwards as well. So I think on a whole, just build relationships with your customers, and in turn, that's going to obviously build trust in your overall brand.
Yeah, absolutely echo this, Cavill. Look, I think a lot of the time, particularly from a brand building exercise, it's very much on the fluff versus what's the actual value that we can give to customers. And I think right now, where we are at with COVID, I think now it's more important than ever to help build that trust with your customers. Absolutely. Alex, so number 4 here is really around expanding servicing touch points. So what do we mean by that? I don't know about you, but I've certainly experienced an increase in the number of brands that I have relationships with in offering customer experiences across social media, particularly Facebook Messenger, and even more recently, the growth of WhatsApp. And I know that Facebook as a platform are heavily investing in this area as well, as another way for customers to be able to connect and have a conversation with their brands. If we think about live chat opportunities, this is something that's been around for quite a while, and actually starting to see more and more brands and organizations really hone in and get a bit smarter with this technology, whether it be product specific based on browsing on mortgages pages, or for savings and insurance, all the way down to if someone has started to fill out a form or has been hovering on a apply or open now button, that a pop-up will actually come up and actually start to facilitate a conversation if it's needed. And look, the other one I think is two-way SMS is something that we've started to see as well. Another channel that's been around for quite a while, but obviously a different way in thinking and using that one. I think the one thing that particularly over the last 9 months, 6 to 9 months, it's really been obviously challenging for some organizations, but I think definitely an opportunity to really be transparent and not hide from your customers. Show them that you are there to talk to and to support them, and whilst it might not be through your traditional channels, that whether it's a high street bank or through a reduced number of colleagues working in call centers, there's definitely other channels that that organizations have started to either invest in or capitalize on a lot more. So I think, yeah, the key takeaway for this one is really around being transparent and really letting your customers know that you are there if they do need them, and actually giving them the information. There's nothing more frustrating, and I've certainly been in these shoes where trying to find some way to connect with a company and actually financial services organization, and just not being able to find the relevant info. So it's really about embracing it and making sure that you are there for your customers when they absolutely need you.
And finally, I think one of the biggest trends is going to be sort of collaboration with tech partners is going to be really important. So at the moment, obviously, there's the open banking opportunity, and this has completely changed the way that financial institutions work alongside each other. So open banking's made it a lot easier for you to get access to your accounts, share information with other companies, so your customers can have access to not just your data, but more products that they could potentially offer you, and make it a sort of a seamless experience. And that sort of follows into sort of the customer support and customer-centric experiences. So not just on Trustpilot, but then also on Google, on Facebook, by collecting NPS, your reputation is going to essentially impact your brand. So you have to think about, what story do you want to tell your potential customers? Do you want to show them you care, or show them that you don't care? The only way you're going to do that is if you embrace the feedback, as Andrew mentioned. And then finally, just embrace change. So don't be afraid of going digital, going onto social media, or going into a new venture. So where a lot of the newer companies have been successful is by collaborating with some key tech partners. So you don't always have to build out a product yourself. You can partner with the specialists in a certain industry, and this is what's going to help you be agile and help you going to be able to succeed. We have seen some companies do this really, really well. So if you ever think about someone like Monzo or Revolut, for example, they've done really well by offering other services that traditional banks haven't done for a long time, such as helping you switch your energy, or do money transfers abroad really easily. I think a company, if I think about it, is Bow Money, for example, which is part of RBS and NatWest. They decided to create their own challenger bank to try and compete with the likes of Monzo and the Revolut, and then they launched for 6 months, and then it disappeared just because there was a lot of bugs. They tried to do everything themselves rather than partnering with key tech partners in their industry. So I think by partnering with key tech partners, it's going to help you be agile. You're going to have less mistakes, and I think it's not going to, and also it's not going to help you, or it's not going to restrict you to a single market. So if you think about traditional finances, traditional banks, they're normally restricted to their local market. However, by going digital, by partnering with key tech partners in certain geographies, whether that's the US, Australia, or the rest of Europe, you can tap into other markets a lot quicker, because you're already partnering with specialists not only in that industry, but also in that geography as well. So that's going to be really important moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Keval. And I think, if we look at the shift in AML and KYC for customers in recent years, there's some fantastic offerings out there for identity verification online, and certainly some of the banks and some of the fintechs are starting to embrace that more and more, which is great to see. I think the other thing too, when it comes back to tech partners, particularly from a customer experience perspective, whether it could be something as simple as personalization of content on websites based on how a customer has previously browsed, or the known information that you have on that customer. So yes, there's plenty of opportunities from a technology perspective. Alrighty, so we've just talked through some of the trends that we've started to notice and moving into 2021 that we think will continue to play a big part in shaping customer experience. And so now we're going to move into talking about some of these in a bit more detail around how you can improve your customer experience in your organization. So I think if you put yourself in a customer's shoes, right now people are working from home. Some may have the luxury of having more time on their hands, but if I think of a lot of people, particularly if you've got kids, they are more time poor. And I think that value exchange of data, over the years, we've given a lot of information, particularly to financial services, but also other retailers and a whole bunch of different organizations. And I feel like I've entered my email address and phone number and date of birth in so many different forms. I feel like that I've done it enough that I feel like those companies now need to start recognizing that data. And it's no longer just okay just to continually ask for that, or to have a really disjointed customer experience. So I think the customer expectations of organizations have certainly changed, and they will continue to do so. and it will start to become one of the core deciding factors as to whether a customer is going to stay with your organization or move across. And we heard from Cavill saying that they've seen a massive increase in the number of reviews from Trustpilot, and those types of peer-to-peer reviews and content is actually starting to help influence how customers then make their decisions. So if we look at the first one here, mobile first, what's the mobile experience? I think smartphones are fast becoming the primary device for consumers, and certainly as 5G expands in availability, it's important to consider what the experience is going to be on a mobile device. Whether it's from push messaging, chat, email, or even just web pages, can customers do what they need to at the press of the finger? I think that's something that will continue to evolve as devices evolve with their functionality, but still I see a lot of organizations just not getting some of the basics right, and I think that as a customer experience is really key. The second one there around being driven by insights. So what is your data telling you? So data for marketers, and I know this 100% believe in it too, is absolute gold. And so what are we actually doing with it? There's so much information on customers about where they shop, when they check their online banking, when they browse, what they've clicked on, what content they're interested in, and that's only just scratching the surface. So how do we really start to embrace some of that data that we've got and actually start to influence the way that we shape our customer experiences, whether it be from what comms channels customers want to be engaged with, all the way through to media optimization and selecting channels for engagement, for cross-sell, for servicing, and what are we doing with our data to help really deliver intelligent insights. And finally there, around customer relevance. This seems like a no-brainer, but I think even during the past 6 months, it's become more important to make sure that you're having a relevant conversation with the customer, not only to improve your marketing metrics, but also to make the customer feel like you actually know them, you actually embrace them as a customer, and that they can absolutely rely on you as and when they need to. And so we should know what our customers are interested in. We know what's happening in their world and ours, and then how can we help, whether it's from savings accounts or if it's from mortgage holidays. All that content that you're showing customers right now is absolutely key and playing a vital part in shaping their customer experience. So how do you make sure that it's actually a good one? It could be anything from even blog content all the way down to added services, as we mentioned before, within banking apps to help make their life a little bit easier. And Cavill, I'm sure you completely agree on those as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think they're all really valid and important points. So mobile first is obviously really important because everything is going digital, as you mentioned, and people are working from home. So I think the worst thing you can have is a website that's not mobile optimized, because now your website is obviously your shop front window, right? And you need to make sure that you optimize it for your customers so they can view your website properly and then obviously get in touch with you. Insights is going to be really important, and we have a number of tools that businesses can get additional insights from their reviews. And then finally, just around customer relevance, again, just making sure you're displaying the right messages at the right touch point, because the worst thing you want to do is sort of showcase irrelevant content because you're just going to lose that customer or just get them disengaged. So just make sure that the messaging at each touch point is the right message.
Absolutely. So look, now we're going to just bring out a couple of brands that we've seen doing customer experience really well from all their different touch points. And the first two we've got here is Barclays and First Direct. Now, Barclays, I recently switched banks, and from the moment I downloaded the app, there was a series of moments that occurred post that actually just added a lot of value and really enhanced that customer experience for me. So there was an email that came through, and then actually logging onto the platform and setting it up. What I loved was, first of all, they're absolutely embracing technology and open banking, and obviously pushing to get customers to be using the Barclays app as their primary app and have all their other bank accounts be linked into this one. And there's a whole list of banks that you can select from. So I thought that was really clever and something that they're actually absolutely jumping on, to have them as a primary, this is the primary customer banking app. The second one I loved was around the Contact Us live chat within the actual app. The functionality is great. I've used it a couple of times, and it's right there front and center on that homepage. And also the opportunity that they've taken with regards to, we've got something new for you. And it's not necessarily looking at a specific product, given that I'm such a new customer and they don't have enough information about me and obviously my interests or my spending patterns, but actually opening that up. There's a broad spectrum of, secondary products or cross-sell opportunities, and even just links out to finding out more information about certain things like rewards. I just thought that was a really great way, when there isn't a lot of data available about your customer, for you to be able to give them an opportunity to say, hey, we've got some products or services here that we think you might really be interested in. And actually that will help to start to build out kind of the next best message journeys for new customers, but also for this customer specifically. So yeah, I thought that was a really great example, and all mobile first experiences as well. The second one here was First Direct. On their homepage, on their website, front and center, coronavirus help and support. And there was a whole page around helpful hints and tips and ways to get in touch. But what I did love was the service update section, which is just under that headline banner, where they're 100% transparent with regards to how all their services are working, and if there's any issues. And I think this is just a great example of an organization not shying away from being transparent around service. So yeah, so there were some really great examples from me.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So obviously they are your more traditional banks, and I think they've probably taken a page out of the fintech's book. So you have a look at the likes of Monzo, for example. You can see how their product offerings is just developed over time, and every year they're adding more and more functionality, a lot faster than your traditional banks and other finances. And that's mainly just down to there being less red tape. So they're, as we mentioned before, you need to be agile, and this is exactly what Monzo are doing. They're being agile. They're partnering with professionals in certain industries. So you can see the partner products are in energy switching, in rewards, in forex transfers, in money savings. And it's by partnering with these companies is what's helped them to bring a product to market a lot quicker than you typically could. Even things like the sign-up process really easy with the use of like ID verification. So you've got loads of companies out there, such as the likes of Onfido, that let you do this really quickly for a quicker sign-up process and a seamless process of getting your account set up. But then moving away from sort of your fintech banks and your challenger banks and going into sort of other finance, you've got Klarna, who've absolutely smashed it in the last couple of years. So when you think about online payments, you would typically think about PayPal, the Sage, the WorldPays of this world. However, Klarna came into the market with a brand new offering with the whole buy now, pay later. And it's been so successful, so much so that just last week, PayPal announced that they're now going to be offering this. That again, a lot of these traditional finances are very slow to market because one, they just don't have the products in place, or they don't have the right technology in place to offer this service. And two, there's just far too much red tape for things to get approved eternally. Whereas with your newer companies, they are a lot more agile. They can just bring a new product to market and then expand into different industries or different geographies as well. And it's not just Klarna. If you think about online mortgage brokers, you've got the likes of Behaviour and Trustpilot, which I mentioned. You've got online money transfer with the likes of TransferWise, and a new thing at the moment, especially given what's happening with COVID, is employee pay on demand. So you've got companies like WageStream, which let you tap into employee pay and let employees take out money from their salaries on a sort of monthly basis or on a weekly basis. And it's again just new products and solutions like this, which is going to sort of make the difference between sort of a company that's slow to market and quick to market.
Thanks, Cavill. And so now we'll start to just discuss how we can start to leverage changes in customer behavior, which is absolutely going to be key for moving forward. And I think, as I mentioned before, we've got new customer behaviors, which also means new data trends. So it's really about, how do we start to track changes in customer behavior? How do we start to test? How do we enrich our known customer profiles? What does it look like from, identifying new engagement opportunities? Have we seen more people looking at certain product pages around savings, which might shift our comm strategy away from traditional, more investment streams, and, looking at actioning things in real time through automation. And so it might be, so take a case in point around if a customer has completed a form, actually sending a triggered response to say thank you, it's been received, and we will review if it is a new application, for example. And then I think also how we find new audiences, as the shift in customer behavior happens not just for our own customers, but for all customers. There's an opportunity there. There's going to be a larger pool or a different pool that was what was previously available for you to start to tap into. And so I think with our Map Cloud platform, just a quick demonstration on how it's a really fantastic way to start to capitalize on some of this. So if we start to look at our known customer data and actually start to do test and learn on our existing customers, to test the waters across, different communications of different products, and actually start to look at those different conversion points. Are we seeing more people converting now through online or click to call? And then, through a DMP, building out lookalike audiences and actually starting to target customers that may have not been open to us in the past, but actually looking at those conversions and really driving lead generation off the back of that. So it's all about embracing those new data trends, particularly as customer behaviors start to shift and change.
Cheers, Andrew. So yeah, with those changes in customer behavior, there's obviously going to be even more importance of Trustpilot. So we're now not just a review platform, we've become a bit more of a destination site where people don't only just come to read and write reviews, but they also come to find companies. So with these changes in behavior, some of the things we've done is add a category function. So on the homepage, you can go through our categories and find certain companies within certain categories. And you can see two highlighted there, which are banks and travel insurance, because we've seen so much more engagement within the financial services sector that we have to make it prominent on our website, because we know consumers are actively looking for this. Even on company Trustpilot profile pages, if you come through Google, you'll be given suggestions of other companies you could consider. So it's all about giving consumers a choice. So you can have your reputation, which is great, but what are your peers doing in your industry, and how do consumers interact with online reputation? So we're giving companies a bit more of a choice, or consumers a bit more of a choice when they come onto Trustpilot. And then finally at the bottom there, you'll see the trend that we've seen since COVID. So you can see there was a steady sort of 1.2 million profile views on a daily basis on Trustpilot. As soon as COVID hit, that took a slight dip, as it would, because there was a lot of uncertainty around that time. But then after that, as people were seeing the norm, or the new norm, of working from home and buying stuff online and going a bit more digital and taking that mobile first approach, there's been a large increase in the engagement and the amount of profile views we've had on Trustpilot, because again, it's playing a key part of that decision-making process when people are obviously doing a bit more research online. So that sort of nicely leads me on to this aspect here. So with the changes in consumer behavior, it's going to be ever more so important to help make that decision even faster. So let people find your reviews online, whether that's, like I said, on Trustpilot, on Facebook, on Google, on Twitter. Just make sure you're embracing it. Give people a platform to leave feedback on, and leverage these reviews online. So don't just limit it to your website. Why not include it in your email marketing campaigns? Why not include it in your email signatures, or even use it in your social media campaigns, which is obviously a very big thing at the moment. But just give people a choice. I think we're moving away from the world where it's purely just based on price or price driven. even if you look at sort of comparison websites, traditionally where they just used to show you the price, and a lot of people typically used to go for the cheapest option, they now just have the price and also a customer rating or a review star rating, because they know consumers are looking for reviews more than ever before. So just understand that, and then just understand what your customers are saying through the use of AI. So with our partnership with Map and our API, what you can actually do is leverage your Trustpilot star rating in your email communications at different touch points and use that to your advantage. And then with Trustpilot Review Insights, you can create a personalized message. You can find out what your customers are saying and really drill down into what they like and where they can potentially, or where the business can potentially make improvements. And we can present this to you sort of in a really easy way by giving you a sentiment score and showing you the sentiment towards your own brand.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely a great way to start to understand what customers really love about your customer experience and what and maybe not so much. All right, so we're going to move on to the last section here, where we will talk about some of the best digital tactics, and a lot of these will be not foreign to anyone, I would say, but a lot of these are absolutely low-hanging fruit for you to actually go away and start to think about putting into play over the coming weeks and months. I think the first one around abandoned forms. So, you've done a lot of work to get customers to your product acquisition forms or your onboarding or application forms, but there's people will drop off from that funnel. So how do we re-engage with those customers in real time and actually encourage them to come back? And it might be the fact that they might have hit a roadblock and they may actually need a bit of extra help, and whether that can be through a contact center or if it's a lead that's then passed on to a live chat. There's plenty of options there when it comes to trying to win back customers. The second one around continued test and learn, A/B testing, time of day, headlines, content, day of the week. There is so much that you can do at a very low level to start to understand what is working with your customers and how to actually start to really capitalize on optimizing that customer experience for them. The next one here, engagement via content. So what content can you produce right now to really help our customers, whether it be helping that customer experience by showing up blog content around 5 ways to save during lockdown, or if it is something you're pushing out through email around new services or mortgage holidays and things like that. How do you really start to tap in and lean into what's happening right now in their world and really help them understand that you connect with them? The next one here is around loyalty, and not necessarily around big reward schemes, but actually something just as simple as, hey, thanks for being with us. If you need us, we're here. And here is a voucher for a coffee at Costa Coffee. Sometimes it's those really simple and surprise and delight moments where customers actually go, oh, because the customer, whilst the majority of us would probably talk about a bad experience, even when customers get those nice surprise and delights out of the blue that they weren't expecting, it's a great opportunity for them to pass on, they've had a great customer experience with your brand and help through word of mouth. I think the next one here around user reviews, Cavill touched on, and I think it's only going to start to get more and more key. You've got the likes of Glassdoor for, employer brands and organizations, and similar with Trustpilot here when it comes to reviewing different organizations across many different aspects. I think absolutely embracing that. And you've seen a lot of customers, a lot of organizations, particularly in financial services and insurance, start to really put this on their site and actually show off their Trustpilot score. It's kind of a key indicator that there is a great customer experience with this organization. And finally, look, we mentioned this before, servicing comms. Let customers know how they can get in touch with you. Start small, see what the engagement is like, see if it's relevant, and then pivot. It might be a case of going back up to that testing and learning to optimize. But there's definitely things that we can be doing, right now to really help drive better engagement, better customer experiences for all of our customers. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, we have a very quick survey that we would love for you to fill out for us. This feedback obviously helps us to create more of these types of events and make sure that the content's relevant. So this link is also in the chat. And we would really appreciate your feedback on this one too. And so off the back of the best digital tactics that we just mentioned then, Matt has actually put together a really nifty tool for marketers called Improve Your Marketing. It's a free community online. You can go in there and there's over 100 different tactics on customer engagement, personalization, and automation. They can actually go through, and these are proven tactics that we've seen a lot of different organizations use, and can actually go through and start to build out your own plan or start to earmark some of those that are really relevant for the work that you're doing in your teams. So the address there is improveyour.marketing. So definitely encourage you to go and have a look at that. As I said, there's some great opportunities there to build out a plan. You can share that with your team. You can actually add in your own tactics as well. So it's a great little opportunity for you to build out that roadmap. And as I mentioned too, there's also there's a community attached to that as well. So you can actually have conversations with fellow marketers who might actually be experiencing some issues with what they're currently doing or want to soundboard off with new ideas and connect. So something that's fantastic, and we've seen a lot of people start to use this, so I definitely encourage you to go and check that out.
Cool, thanks Andrew. And then yeah, with Trustpilot, we've now got a finance hub. So anything to do with finance, some tips and tricks, some of the customer success stories that we've had, case studies, all that kind of stuff. If you're obviously in the finance industry, head over to that and you'll get some more information around what we're doing within finance. And then secondly, if you've got some reviews on Trustpilot or you're thinking about coming off Trustpilot, you can book a demo or get a trust consultation, which really just goes into your Trustpilot profile page, talks about how many reviews you've been getting, what type of engagement it's had by looking at the profile views, and even search terms that people are typing in to find your profile page on Trustpilot. So feel free to have access to those or link into those, and then we can follow up directly with you guys.
Fantastic. Alrighty, so we have now moved into the last part of our webinar for Q&A. And I actually have a question for Keval to kick off. Just a reminder, if anyone does have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them. Keval, I'm really interested in seeing how you would describe the current role of trust in the financial services and insurance industry. And do you think the industry as a whole is trusted by the public?
So that's a good question. So I think there's a lot of misinformation out there now. And so consumers are getting savvy and they know they can't, or they have to take information with a pinch of salt. So where traditionally businesses used to show testimonials, we're moving away from that world now because consumers themselves just don't trust testimonials. They know the owner of the company has probably just gone online and copied and pasted that or just written it themselves. So trust online is becoming ever so more important than it was before. And having a platform like Trustpilot just allows you to do that. And as I said, it's not just Trustpilot where it's going to be important. It's going to be through all channels where your brand is visible. So whether that's on Google and you collect Google reviews, or whether that's on Facebook or on Twitter, or even managing a forum, for example, because we know that you can get forums where people talk about companies. And I know ones that do this really well, where they have or they get feedback from their customers before they even release a new product, or they have a forum where people can keep engaged. And I think it's just that having that level of transparency with your customers, with your consumers, is what consumers appreciate now. They just want the transparency. They want to see into your company. They want to know what you're doing. They want to know how you're engaging with your customers on an ongoing basis, so then it helps them make an informed decision. And like I said, not just based on price, but on your reputation. And this is where trust is going to be really important, because you need to build that trust in the first instance to, one, acquire that customer, but then secondly, and more importantly, to actually retain that customer for the long run, so they become a loyal customer of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if I think back to when testimonials started to be the go-to for to put on websites, or for businesses to shout about how great they are, I've definitely come a long way from the John Smith says XYZ about Bank Y.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have another question, and I think I might take this one. So the question is, how do you think the current situation, COVID, will change, particularly for high street banks and the way that they engage with their customers? So firstly, I think obviously it's very challenging times, and I'm sure we're all sick of hearing that, but I think the banks that have embraced digital will continue to embrace digital once this has all passed, and actually start to look at how they can build up better digital experiences within their branches, for example. I feel there's absolutely still a need for high street banks and branches. If I think about Metro Bank, for example, around a campaign they did earlier this year around people-to-people banking, and there is a massive subsection of people that, yes, they love the convenience of digital, but when they actually want to go in, actually want to talk to someone face to face about certain products or their accounts. And I think I forget which bank it was, but there's also the opportunity to offer webcam sessions and actually have those conversations face to face, but within a digital setting. And I think there's an opportunity there for banks to absolutely really build out the use of their usual face-to-face experience for the customer within a digital world. So it'd be very interesting to see how that shifts, the next couple of years. But I think absolutely from for myself as a financial services customer, and also having worked in the industry for a very long time, seeing the shift and the important role that digital has played in moving the industry forward, and us as marketers being able to embrace that and actually get on the train and partner with people to help facilitate those experiences versus actually ignoring them. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that customer experience does change. I definitely think that high street banks will still absolutely, branches will still play a big role. I think it will be how they use those branches to their advantage. And any other questions? All right, so I think if we do have more questions that do need to be answered, or that we can answer, we can absolutely do those offline. And hang on a second, I have just a couple coming through. Okay, so we have one here from Carolyn. And this one is, with lots of mistrust around online reviews, as you mentioned, what can we do to promote the fact that all our reviews are genuine, and how can we convince customers that they are so, given that they are so used to fake reviews? That one's for you, Keval.
So it's a good question, and I think from Trustpilot's point of view, we're doing as much as we can to remove mistrust in reviews. So our CEO, Peter, he put a pledge together of changes we're making to our platform to make sure that the reviews remain genuine and that they're authentic and people trust the reviews. So as I said, we've got over 100 million reviews on Trustpilot, and even before a review is posted on Trustpilot, it goes through a check of around 100 different data touchpoints. And these can be multiple checks based on things like IP address, things like language, things like patterns within those reviews. So even before those reviews are posted, it goes through these checks to make sure that it meets up that criteria. And then secondly, on Trustpilot, and there's a couple of other things that we're doing. So firstly, if you've invited that customer to leave a review, it will be labeled as invited or verified. So consumers can see that you've invited them to leave a review, so they know it's a genuine customer. But then also we've got a business transparency page on profile pages, and this is where consumers can see the sort of engagement you're having with your consumers. So it shows you how many reviews you've got over a certain period of time, and also how many reviews you've reported and why you've reported those reviews. So if there's any companies trying to manipulate the system, for example, that'll be quite evident, because it will say that, or it will show that you've reported a lot of reviews for incorrect reasons, for example, and then they were placed back online. Even if businesses try to manipulate the system, we have consumer holding messages over profile pages to say, take these reviews with a pinch of salt because we found X, Y, Z. So we're in the interest of consumers. We're a consumer-driven platform, which is why we've become so big. So it's in our best interest to make sure that the reviews online are genuine and are trusted. So there's a number of things that we can, or we are doing at the moment, and I can probably follow up with you after this, Carolyn, to share some more information with you around that as well. But it was a good question, and I think it's a valid concern. However, I think Trustpilot is sort of leading the way in making sure that the reviews online are trusted, especially on our platform.
Thanks, Keval. Fantastic. Look, guys, I can see there's quite a few more questions in here, but unfortunately we are running out of time. So we might see if we can follow up directly with the questions that have come through here. But on that note, hey, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It has been our pleasure to share a bit of knowledge and thoughts on customer experience for financial services and insurance. Hopefully you found it useful. Please do, if you have a moment after this is finished, to complete the survey. Greatly be appreciated. And thank you so much, Keval, for joining us from Trustpilot.
Cheers, guys, and thank you for having me, Andrew. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great Tuesday.
Cheers. Bye.